All right, so just as before, you are an administrator for Contoso Limited, and you're going to be asked to perform a number of tasks for Contoso Limited. The first one is to add a new policy. If you'll recall, in the labels module, we created a label for compensation documents that the HR department is going to use. How is that label going to be available for HR? Well, we're going to create a human resources policy and apply that policy to the human resources group. When we create that policy, we'll make sure to include that compensation label. We're also going to be asked to edit an existing policy. So if you'll remember in the labels module, we updated the personally identifiable information label to include Canadian personally identifiable information. Now in this scenario, the sales group needs access to this brand new label because they're going to start working with some Canadian clients. And so we're going to add this label to the existing sales policy that's already in Azure Information Protection. And then the last task is to remove a policy. Contoso Limited is divesting itself of the Life Settlement Group. There's an LSI policy that's applied to the Life Settlement Group. So we're going to be removing that policy because we no longer need it. So let's go into the portal and accomplish these various scenarios. All right, so we're back in the portal, and the first thing we're going to do is create that new HR policy. So we'll click on Add a New Policy. The policy name is going to be HR Policy. The policy description is going to be Policy for members of the HR group. And now we need to select what group this policy applies to. We'll select Users or Groups, and then just type in the name of the group. There we go. It's going to be the HR 365 group. Select that and click OK. All right, so now we have that group selected. Now it's already getting all the global policy labels. So let's go ahead and click Add Remove Labels. Now you see all the global ones are grayed out. We can't remove those. But if we scroll down, we'll see that the HR comp label is available. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and click OK. If we scroll down a little bit further, we're going to change the default label for the HR group. Instead, we're going to make it confidential all employees because HR tends to be working with confidential information. So we want any new document to at least get that label on it. We're also going to specify that because HR tends to work with sensitive things, that they're going to be required to always have a label applied. We're going to leave the user justification action on. We're going to change the email attachment to recommended. And what this does is it says if I have an attachment that has a certain label on it, I want to label the email with the same label that the attachment has. We'll leave the protection bar displayed. We're going to add the Do Not Forward button to the Outlook bar and leave custom permissions available. So if we're happy with all those settings, and we are, then go ahead and click Save and click OK. In a previous version, creating a policy and then publishing that policy was two separate actions, which is why you're getting that second prompt. In the newer version, it's just one action. So now that policy is immediately applied to users. All right, so that's saved. We can go ahead and close that. And you'll see there is now an HR policy in our policy list. The next thing we wanted to do was to go into the sales policy. And remember, we want to add that personally identifiable information label. So we'll click Add Remove Labels, scroll down, select the personally identifiable information label and click OK. And then finally just click Save. So now this policy will be updated to include that label. All right, we can go ahead and close that. It saved successfully. And then the last thing we want to do is delete this policy, and that is very simple to do. We can either right-click on it and select a delete policy, or we can actually click into the policy and click delete from within here. It'll prompt me to confirm. I click OK, and there we go. That policy has now been removed.